about what the California region's latest report said that was brought up today during the meeting.
Yeah, so in the meeting, the biggest thing to take away, and just the thumbnail sketch of it, is nobody stood up and said, we have to stop this now. We have to take away the chancellor's authority. Nobody said that. Everything was about, planning for the inevitable exit, spending more money on mental health and athlete welfare,
yes,
and things like that. The things that you need to talk about. So any kind of talk that the California university system was at all going to stop this was bravado or whatever, and we've seen it's not worked anywhere. To do this would take a large overtaking. The biggest thing is that I think, and this is just my opinion, just from the outside looking in, I think there were people, at least factions inside, that didn't want it to happen because they thought that Cal would care more than they did. And they really don't, that everything will work itself out kind of a thing. They kind of see that this is how college athletics works. And there was no justification for keeping them there together that would make financial sense, especially given UCLA's really, really dire financial situation that they have. Right?
Yep.
So the reason that UCLA would have been, even without USC, if the Big Ten had just sent out invitations and said the first one to call us back gets in, they probably would have just had to, because of their accounting issues that they've had in the past.
All right. So Tony had sent this to us a couple of days ago. This is the UC region's latest. Nothing happened today, right?
Nothing
okay,
that was earth-shattering.
All right. So that's the last one. There's 4 graphics. One, this is from the UC Regents report, and it's also, by the way, in a PDF. Cost. In-depth calculations show that UCLA will only incur $10 million in additional cost for big travel and program upgrades. Well, they're getting, 29, 30, whatever, 30 million a year. They're going to get 70, 75 million a year plus more, plus once they expand the college football playoffs. So that's the first one. That was one.
And the reason this is important is that one of the arguments made, particularly by George Kliavkoff, was that, the money it'll be a push at best because they'll be spending $50 million a year getting everybody all over the place.
Okay.
But he didn't have any numbers to back that up. I think they were just kind of saying
it was no different than what Bob Bowlesby and others were trying to say in Austin about Texas leaving. And there was a chunk that the conference would lose, but they eventually got at least that back and more. Not that they wouldn't have gotten more had Texas and OU remained in the conference. Of course they would have. Number 2, athlete support. 93% of surveyed athletes, and again, I don't know if that was 10% of them or 100% of them, say it's important to be in the same conference as USC. This is UCLA athletes. Student athletes at UCLA, 93% said they want to remain in the same conference. It's important to remain in the same conference as USC. But only 24% say it's important to stay in the conference with Cal Berkeley.
Yeah, well, LA is more important than San Francisco, right? It's still a big market, but
LA, but
for these athletes,
USC's not a part of the UC system.
Yeah.
But Cal Berkeley is, and that's according to the survey. Again, this is online on a PDF file. Number 3, I put 2. Travel cost. You hear about this, right? And it's probably a concern. Most UCLA sports will have minimal impact and minimal travel changes. Only a few sports like basketball, baseball, volleyball face significant additional travel. Many UCLA sports aren't in the Big Ten, and many Big Ten sports have local travel, regular seasons, and then one conference tournament, much like what the Pac does.
Yeah, so UCLA has a ton of sports. They're big on their Olympics and all that, but there is, baseball's going to have to go, into the Big Ten and deal with that. Although I'm sure the Big Ten's thrilled about coming to California, especially since they can come and play a couple schools on a trip and get more games in early in the season in the cold weather places. I don't think it's. Again, you're talking about a few sports, but they're not going to be sending tennis off to the Big Ten necessarily to do all those things. Some of those sports compete in different conferences.
Number 4, better for the UC system. Losses to Cal are less than the gains by UCLA. Much less. Contradicting Pac-12 claims, whether that's George Kliavkoff or someone else. Now, this is from Tony Altimore, who has been a part of our show. Tony's a Pac-12 guy. He's a USC guy. This was stuff that he sent. He sent a PDF link as well. If you want it, I can send it to you for you to dig around. I'm probably 10,000 pages long. And then this graphic as well. UCLA athletes believe they need to be in USC's conference. Now, this is a graphic. I love graphics. And this is what we showed you earlier. Which other schools is it important or very important for UCLA to stay together in the same conference? And there's the graph. There's obviously a massive difference between 93% USC and 24% Cal.
Yeah. And the athletes would rather play. I mean, that's a bigger rivalry to them than Cal. And the thing about Cal sports right now is especially football, which is what is driving this move. We talked about it a couple of times. It just feels like college football in the Bay Area is really blah right now. And there's not a lot of excitement for it. And so USC is having their best season in a very long time this year and is in contention for the conference title for the first time in a very long time. The last time they won it was in 1998. So when you have this move of you going together, it's going to create excitement and it's going to make you look introspectively at, okay, what are the benefits of this to that, or who I'd rather be with. If you tell hey, I'd rather play USC where it's a big rivalry, it's in town, like everybody's going to be able to go no matter who's playing, or we're going to be 7 hours away playing against Cal. Yeah, I mean, no matter what it is, like if you are a non-revenue sport athlete, say you are a volleyball player, right? And USC is coming in to play you at Pauley Pavilion for volleyball. There's a good chance that that's going to be the best game that you have as far as attendance. That's not a good chance. That's the best game you're going to have attended all year. When Cal comes in, might get a couple people relatively, but it's not going to be like that. Like that's the game you can call your friends across town and be like, hey, do you want to come and watch us? Like there's USC. So yeah, of course it's more important to be with USC than it is to be with Cal. They're right there.
Yeah, and from some of the responses, by the way, Sir blah, 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 the $10 million will be more than covered by the extra TV revenue, talking about any offset of UCLA. That's exactly right. Roger, not surprised at all. Regions couldn't stop UCLA, but could have, in fact, requested TV money. Never an issue with UCLA's debt. Provo Cougar fan. UCLA's men's volleyball is in a super conference with Brigham Young, Hawaii, Pepperdine, and other top teams. From Baal Guestjar, water polo, men's volleyball, etc., aren't in the pack. He's right, and will remain in their current conferences. Roger Dodger, great opportunity for UCLA to join the Big Ten in some sports and make a lot more money. The UC Regents understand that.
Yeah, and look, when you read the first, especially, and I'll go back and read this next one, when you read the first meeting they had, there were a lot of people involved in that who clearly are not sports people. I mean, then that's fine. They weren't put on that board to make decisions for athletic departments. They're making decisions for whole university systems, and then they rely on the people who are athletically in charge to tell them what's the best deal. And really, they care about two things: money and money. No,
yeah.
But money and how is it really going to work? Is it going to cause problems even with this money? And most of the time, money is going to supersede all of that. So I also think that there's going to be a lot more travel. There's no doubt about that when it comes to all the sports. But I think that we're in an era where I don't think that people think about that the same way anymore.
No, I think it's different. Now, also, just to clarify, Nerf, UCLA's last conference title was 1998.
Yes.
That was the point about that. Roger Dodger says 2017
in football.
No, their last conference title was in 1998.
Yeah.
They were in division championships 2011 and also in 12. They won the South in those 2 years, but then lost
Oh, he
in the
might have.
championship
I think
game.
Roger Dodger might have been saying USC's last conference.
all right,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's fighting on all the way. So
Right, the fight on. Now,